Hey guys, so we're at the facility today to work on some stuff with Blue. I'm going to do a couple of different videos. I want to show you how we are working on walking him, and then I want to work on placing down while I have a little bit of a more distraction. Not dog distraction, but front door distraction, toy distraction, all of that kind of stuff. So first, we're going to work on walking, and I want to show you how he's been doing and how to control the walking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put the transitional on him, which, by the way, he resists still a little bit, but nothing significant anymore. He's not like the first video by any stretch, so you'll see that. On walks, he does get a little fearful of specifically sounds that he cannot see. So like if I have neighbors talking in garages or in backyards that he can't see them, that's when he kind of has a little bit more of an emotional distress reaction than if he can actually see what's going on. Not a fan of motorcycles, and not a fan of cars that make really loud noises, which is typical. But what we're doing is every time we're going for you little bugger, every time we're going for a walk, we're just getting used to the idea of having to be on the sidewalk where there are cars that are going to come and go pretty significantly. So this way he just has to start dealing. The last thing that we want to do is allow him to think that he's allowed to run away from anything that might make him uncomfortable. Now you're going through a moment. No, come here. I know, you're all right. Obviously. He is making me out to be a liar today because he doesn't normally do this. Let me tell you, he doesn't normally have this kind of reaction. So obviously it's one of those things where I'm just going to work him through it and get him over it and move him on. Okay. So what I want to work on with you today is kind of how to hold the leash and then how to start walking with him where you don't have to stop. And what I mean by that is I don't want you to allow him to pull out in front of you, you stop, and then you wait for him to come back to you like we originally did in that first lesson where it was kind of like my standing like a tree technique. Now I want you to be able to keep moving. So the way that I want you to hold on to the leash is this. When the dog is right by your left-hand side, which is the formal side to walk a dog on, it's my preference unless there's a medical need to do it on the right. You're going to take the leash where your arm naturally drops by your side. You want to have a position as if you're walking without a dog. You don't want to, in the end, when everything's said and done, weeks, months down the road, feel him at all, because it should be like you just holding onto a leash but not holding on to a dog. So when I take, I can't do anything but laugh. Yeah, I can't. So when I hold onto the leash, you basically want him perfectly by your side because this is the ideal position. It's the formal heel position. Technically, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, heels should be where shoulders are equal to thigh. So I like kind of positioning the dog there first and then holding onto the leash. Then what you want to do is you want to take the leash again around your thumb. So you're going to loop it around like you do the handle. It's just going to have an open-ended section. And then you're going to wrap your fingers all the way around the section of the leash, thumb sitting on your index finger so it acts like a pin. Now my preference is folding the handle section up and doing the exact same thing. So this way you have two loops around your thumb and you have your free hand, you have your right hand free, okay? Now, You are going to position yourself to start walking as if you are in the leader position. So if he is out in front of you in any way, shape, or form, you are not going to start by saying the command, let's go, and then start walking, because I don't want him in front of you, especially when you start. You want to make sure that he's always in a position where he's either right beside you or slightly behind you, where he's in a follower position. Now, when you do start a walk and you do change direction, whether it's right or left, you want to say, let's go, a moment before you actually go into the turn or you start the walk, because you want him to have a second to understand what it is that you're saying, so this way he can dictate what his movements needs to do based off of what he's hearing. So it's kind of like the commands that you're using with place, down, come, sit, all of that kind of stuff, is you want to make sure there is a moment that you allow him to process the information and make decisions. Now, when you start walking, and obviously I only have in here in this facility at the moment that I'm filming this, just so this way it's a little bit more quiet so I can explain things, but what I'm going to be doing is every time I turn, I'm going to say, let's go, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to physically maneuver him by kind of using my wrist and my hand, kind of like revving a motorcycle, to get him to move in whatever direction I may need. Now, another thing to make sure that you pay attention to is anytime he moves a few inches in any direction, you are going to almost instantaneously feel that. So as soon as that happens, you kind of want to grab a little bit of a grip and then pull him back to where you want him ideally, and then release. So this way you're not holding tension and trying to force him to stay in that position. You can hold tension for as long as you need until he moves into the position that you're trying to get him to. But as soon as he does, you want to release that tension. Because remember, pressure means I need you to change your behavior. Release of pressure means that you've changed your behavior to something I deem more appropriate. So you want him to almost as soon as possible understand that that is a better behavior, like standing by my side like this, than being out in front of me. So I'm going to say is, Blue, let's go, and start walking. Let's go. And every time I turn, I'm not trying to dictate what he's doing. Let's go. I am just trying to get him to follow. And if he pulls ahead, let's go. What I do is, again, I pull back, and I release the tension as soon as he's back. Let's go in that position where he's ideally by my side. Now, in the beginning, you're going to be playing this game quite a lot. Let's go. Where you are positioning him back by your side pretty regularly because he's not used to holding the position. Let's go by your side. But as you can see, after just a few days of walking with him with the transitional let's go, he's doing much better than he was in the past. My arms are not completely straight by my side. My shoulders are back. Let's go as much as possible. And the one thing I want you to pay attention to, I don't know if you can see in the video, my head might be cut off. Let's go. Is my chin is parallel to the ground. So I'm not looking at him and wondering what he's doing. I'm actually paying attention to what I'm trying to see around me. And what I need to do is pay attention to if I feel him. If I feel him, I'm going to communicate with him through the leash. Very little verbal cues. Let's go, other than let's go right now. You can also learn commands with him like leave it, drop it, let's go, which I've been doing with him in treats, chew toys, all of that kind of stuff. Good. Let's go. But again, you want to just very simply move him into a position by your side and release the tension. And it doesn't matter, let's go, anything that he does, you're going to kind of just get used to the idea that I don't need to pay attention to it. Let's go. No. Good. Because ultimately the goal is for you just to keep moving and for him to fall, let's go, into the position by your side. We don't want it to be a struggle for either one of you. So the idea is that for behaviors you don't like, you can correct easily enough by ignoring them and not giving them any attention. So this way he doesn't deem them as something to continue doing. Let's go, because he's getting attention for them. Let's go. Good. But what you also want to make sure that you're doing is acknowledging when he's doing a good job. So anytime that you're not feeling him and you know that he's walking, let's go, by your side well with you, let's go, then you want to acknowledge it and be like, that's a good boy. So this way you're rewarding just as much as you're disciplining when you're communicating through the leash. Now again, you want to have your body as relaxed as possible. So this way, let's go. You're not feeding any overexcitement to him because of how stressed you might be or anxious you might be. Let's go. You want to just pace it as if you were walking by yourself and it's your normal stride. Let's go. Good. Good. Let's go. And as you can see, as I'm doing more walking, he's getting better. He's getting a little bit more relaxed each time I pass by. Let's go. And he's moving with me more than he was just a few minutes ago, resisting the leash. Let's go. So he's not perfect, but at the same time, it's only 5 days in, 6 days in. So the idea that he's going to be perfect as a puppy who's also teething, who's going through a growth spurt and getting into an adolescent phase is wonderful. We just need to keep it consistent. Let's go. Where we don't address behaviors in a negative way, so this way he assumes that he's going to get attention for it because he's still in that phase of, I'm going to get attention and I don't care if my mom and dad or brothers are yelling at me or they're happy with me. They're just paying attention to me, so I'm going to take whatever I can get. Now, with me, if I feel frustrated or agitated with the dog, I tend to separate myself. So if I need to, a dog goes inside the crate, and then I remove myself from the situation, and I only go back to them. Let's go. If I'm in a content or happy mood, because I'm not going to associate with that dog where I can have any sort of negative impact on a relationship that I have with them to get them to respond to me as leadership and them as a follower. Let's go. But this is kind of how I want it to be. And obviously, depending on what kind of fear issues he has that we need to work him through, he may or may not react. Let's go. A little bit more or a little bit less. But he's not going to be anywhere near the way that he was when you had to kind of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go with the walking. Because at this point, we have a better way of communicating with him with the leash. At the same time, we're getting him, exposing him to things that are going to make him uncomfortable and fearful. Good. Now another thing we're still working on, but he's actually doing pretty good at it, is when I stop, he stops. Good boy. I don't care if they give me direct eye contact, they can do a quick glance, that's fine. I'm going to acknowledge it every single time because he's looking up at me and questioning, what are we doing now? What is the direction that we're going? Blue, sit. Good boy. Sit. Now, this is what I'm still working on. You see how he's kind of fanning, trying to face me? We're still working on getting him to stay parallel with me, but the idea that he can listen to a sit without pressure is wonderful. Right. Good boy. Whoops, right there. Right there. Good boy. Let's go. And then when we're doing that, just so this way you know, when you stop, you don't need to say anything because the initial response is that you're stopping, so that's the cue that he needs to stop. Okay? Then, what you want to do, if I want to get really specific with it, I'll kind of position him back by my side again, so this way he's not in front. Blue, sit. Good boy. You want to release the dog before you actually say, let's go, because you need to get him out of the position you put him in the first place. So you want to, good boy. Then, when you are ready, you say, let's go, and you start moving again. So this way, you are starting, ending, and starting a command very clearly in the consideration of having him see things in black and white. Again, good boy, blue, sit, good boy, you almost did it almost perfectly. Almost, we're getting there. He's got, okay. He needs a moment, we're gonna give him a moment. Sometimes you gotta scratch an itch. Go boy. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions about this video. I know that these ones are a little long, so take your time with them. Review them whenever you like. Thanks.